Hello everybody, how's it going? It's me, Crendor, and welcome back to Crendor Talks in front of a shitty green screen. Today, green screen's not too bad actually. Look at this, it's not even like freaking out. So today I was thinking about the end bosses of World of Warcraft expansions, because I've seen a lot of people talking about the Jailer and the end of Shadowlands and all that type of stuff, and I was like, what were the best and worst villains? For me personally, at least, for every WoW expansion. Like, which were my favorite endings, which were my least favorite. So I was like, this is perfect timing to go ahead and make a, hold on, here we are, tier list. The old WoW expansion tier list. But this is not for the expansions, this is strictly for the end bosses of those expansions, alright? Don't get that confused. This is not an expansion tier list, this is just for the end game. Okay? And specifically the bosses. So, S tier. I think S tier, right off the bat, I gotta go Lich King. That's like one of the most iconic fights, right? It's one of the most anticipated fights. And I feel like Wrath of the Lich King was still one of my favorite expansions. Like, I love that expansion. I love the raids leading up to the end boss of the Lich King. I thought they did a good job throughout the expansion, kind of always having him there as like an overarching theme. And, you know, you always knew, like, shit, dude, like, I'm gonna have to fight the Lich King at some point. And that was always in your head, right, when you were going through Northrend. And I just thought the theming of it all was great. And the actual fight was good. So, I mean, that's easily my number one. That's S tier. I put it all the way up there. So, here comes the rest of them, alright? So, just looking at all these, alright, I'm gonna go... Cataclysm is gonna be... it's either a C or a D. Like, Deathwing... Deathwing... I gotta put it in the... You know what? I'm gonna give it a C. I'm gonna give it a C. You know what? They tried something new, at least, right? Like, you had Deathwing, you were, like, fighting on his spine. There's, like, other stuff going on. I guess there was also, like, the Ragnaros battle at the end. Actually, who was the end boss of Cataclysm? Was it Deathwing, or was it... It was Deathwing. Okay. Why... I was thinking of Ragnaros from the other raid. Doesn't matter. So yeah, Deathwing's final boss. I think it was a C. Like, I don't think it was a great fight. I didn't really care that much about Deathwing, but, like, he did impact the world. You know what I mean? Like, you walked around and you were like, alright, Deathwing, like, destroyed this place. You know what I mean? So, they did a good job, I think, theming everything around it. Having Deathwing just constantly being... I guess he had his presence felt, I guess you would say. Because, I mean, you're walking through a... What the shit is this song? Horde Tavern? Oh, Undead Tavern Dance? Let's skip ahead. Alright, there we go. Sorry. Either way, that's that. Then... I'm gonna go ahead and do Mist of Pandaria, which was Garrosh. Garrosh, I still don't... I'm gonna put that in the C tier as well. Like, Siege of Orgrimmar, wasn't a big fan. Like, it was a cool idea, but I just didn't really like the execution of it. I'm not even talking about, like, the boss fight mechanics and everything. I just meant as a... I'm talking about, like, the theming, the environment, you know, the idea behind it, and then the actual end boss and the execution of it all. That's kind of what I'm basing all this off of. And, you know, I was like, yeah, it was okay. It was such a weird, I feel like, shift from, like, we go to Pandaria, we see all this stuff, and then we randomly just end up in Orgrimmar fighting Garrosh. It was weird. Like, I didn't really feel the theme that much. I guess Garrosh could kind of be felt, in parts of it, but I still didn't feel it. It was still weird. I don't know. It was okay. I don't think it was, like, bad or D tier or anything, but, yeah. Let's do, Burning Crusade. Burning Crusade, Illidan. I'd say, probably an A or a B. I didn't really do a lot of rating, though. But, you know what? I gotta put it. I think it's an A. Then again, there was a lot of Kael'thas. Almost to the point where I thought Kael'thas was the end boss when I played Burning Crusade. 'Cause, I mean, you look it up, the final boss... Oh, wait, it was Kill Jaden? Oh, yeah. It was Kill Jaden. You know what? I'm gonna drop it down to a B. Just because, like, I completely forgot Kill Jaden was even the final boss. But I still think he was a cool boss. Sunwell Plateau, like all that stuff. But that's what I mean, right? Like, it was cool. I like the style, but, like, I completely forgot that was a thing. And I feel like part of me feels the whole Kill Jaden thing was, like, you got shoehorned in at the end. Like, hey, here's the final boss. Like, I don't know. But I never really, like, played it that much. I did, like, one raid for Kill Jaden. Like, I don't know. But it was cool. You know, don't get me wrong. Speaking of which, that kind of brings me to, actually, it doesn't really bring me anything. Wait, Warlords of Draenor, right? Who was the final boss of Warlords of Draenor? It was, wasn't it Gul'dan? Oh, it was Archimonde. That's right. Archimonde, like, I don't know. He was okay. I'll give it a C. It's another, like, okay final boss. You know what I mean? Like, I just... Maybe it's the saltiness of Draenor in general that I'm just like, I don't know. Wait, what does this article say? The 8 most memorable moments from World of Warcraft boss fights. Kel'Thuzad, Kill Jaden, Arthas, Deathwing. I guess I'm gonna see them all right here. Garrosh, Archimonde, the ending. Oh wow, they got a Jesse video with him and Dave Kosak being interviewed or whatever. Argus, N'Zoth, and then obviously the jailer. I mean, I don't know. It's Archimonde. Whenever I think of it, I think of Mount Hyjal. So I don't really think of Warlords of Draenor. I think more of what do you call it? Cataclysm. I actually think more about Archimonde and Cataclysm than I do Warlords of Draenor. I don't know. So it's kind of weird. So like, yeah, that's another okay one. Like, whatever. Now, I don't even know, like, is Kel'Thuzad the... Oh, yeah, I guess Kel'Thuzad would be the final boss in Naxxramas. But the thing with World of Warcraft Classic... I'm going to put it in the S tier, right? The thing with World of Warcraft Classic is, sure, you have the final boss of, like, Kel'Thuzad. But what I loved about it was he didn't really feel like the final boss because you had the leveling experience where, you know, you're just kind of going all over the place. You're growing as a character. And then you're kind of just going from dungeon to dungeon at that point, right? You go to Molten Core... and you kill that final boss, you go to Blackwing Lair, you kill that final boss, you go to, obviously Naxxramas, you go to Ahn'Qiraj. It felt like you were just going all over and experiencing the world and killing all these final bosses all over the world. There wasn't really an overarching theme of the original game, you know what I mean? Like, you weren't like, oh, I'm level 39, can't wait to fight that Kel'Thuzad at the end. Like, you didn't really get that, and so... I think having the variety and just the vast, everything was new, right? Everything was new, and so it didn't really need that because you were just kind of experiencing the game in general, and that was enough. And then everything else was just kind of there, and it was all great. I loved it. So I put it in the S tier. Now, Legion, BFA, and Shadowlands. So Legion was Argus. I actually, you know what? I think Argus was pretty cool. I actually liked Argus. Like, I thought it was a cool fight. I thought it was different. You know, and I feel like they actually did a decent job with the story behind it. I'm gonna put Legion, I'm gonna give it an A. I actually think it did better than Burning Crusade for, like, doing all that. I mean, you did have to travel to Argus, and it kind of built up to it from there. But it did tie together, right? Because you were, like, fighting all these demons and the Burning Legion, and then you go to Argus, and then you're like, oh, now we're gonna actually fight Argus. You know what I mean? So it actually did a good job of, like, progression. So you know what? I'm gonna give Legion an A. I think it's a solid A. Then we get to Battle for Azeroth and Shadowlands. Okay. So, I'm gonna, I don't know if I want to put it in the C or D tier. Like, I might just put it in the D tier. Like, first up, I didn't even hate Battle for Azeroth, right? I was one of the people that was like, I think the landscapes are cool. I like the zones a lot. I thought I actually liked a lot about the game. Obviously, a lot of the systems in place were ass. But I actually liked a lot about the game. But I don't think back to Battle for Azeroth and go like, oh yeah, N'Zoth. It almost felt like N'Zoth was an afterthought. And then they tried to do it like Legion, where they're like, we're going to Argus, and we're gonna fight Argus. And it was like, oh, N'Zoth is corrupting, what was that? Like, the Pandaria and, Uldum. Like, he's corrupting Uldum. And I was like, alright. I don't even remember being like, oh, yeah, N'Zoth, we gotta take this guy down. I just remember flying around being like, God, I hate these worms. You know what I mean? Those worms that kept being like, zap, zap, and then it kept lowering your speed by like 10% every time they zapped you, and then you're just moving at like 2% speed. I would have rather just fought those worms as a final boss. Like, legit. If they were like, you're gonna fight those worms that make you slow, and N'Zoth dies and all those worms pop up, I'd be like, holy shit. Now this is an ending, right? I want to actually beat these worms up. Like, there needs to be something in the world from this final boss that, like, is aggravating you. And I never thought of that with N'Zoth that much. Like, again, maybe N'Zoth did send those worms, but I hated those worms more than I actually hated N'Zoth by the end of it. So yeah, that's got to be a D tier. And then Shadowlands, it's got to be another D. Like, like the jailer, I'm gonna, like, straight up, I honestly have no idea what's going on in this current lore. I really don't care about the jailer. They actually do a decent job of, like, the jailer being in a lot of the Shadowlands stuff. I think I just don't care. And for a while I was like, wait, so there's Sylvanas, is she gonna be the final boss? But then you're like, okay, she's probably not gonna be the final boss. And then there was like, you know, maybe someone's gonna, you know, like, what's his name? Anduin's gonna, like, be fighting with the, I don't know. Everything just confused me. And I feel like we just need to be straightforward. I feel like they're trying to do too much. Does that make sense? It feels like they're trying to do too many things and manage too many different character arcs and too many stories. It's like, can we just pick one? Okay? And that's it. We just pick one and we focus on them. We don't need, like, Sylvanas is over here having fun. Anduin's over here, and then this dude's over here, and then the Taran dude, he's just sitting in the corner like fucking sad kid at Christmas, right? Like, they literally, they're just like, we got too many characters, put that one in the corner. All right, he's gonna have one line. That guy, put him over there, and it's like, I'm just overloaded. Like look at these, like the top one, Lich King. What do you got? You got the Lich King. All right, you're like, the Lich King's bad, you gotta kill him. Boom, simple, right? It's easy. You follow along, you're good to go. Like, even with Deathwing, like, you're like, oh man, Deathwing messed up the world. This is bad. He's the bad guy, right? He's on the cover. Like, you don't get that with these. Like, these bottom ones, you don't get that. And so I feel like they just got to take a step back and just, like, simplify it. They have to simplify it, which sounds weird because you would think a lot of their lore is actually simplistic, but simplifying it isn't a bad thing. You have to just prune away, snip, 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 prune away all the clutter and just focus on one thing. And I feel like when they do that, it will actually improve the story greatly. And it allows you to have little side missions that tie into the story and, you know, have characters that can be attached to this story, but like Uther, right? Like Uther and Jaina, or Jaina. I always get League of Legends and WoW mixed up with Jaina. I think it's Jaina. Yeah, Jaina Proudmoore. And so, you know, you can tie that in with story and dungeons and all that thing, but you don't need like a billion things going on, and then it all just is like jumbled up anyway. They gotta refocus. So that's my tier list. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Like, comment, subscribe, all that YouTube stuff, and let me know what you think down below. Give me your tiers of like your favorite endgame bosses and your least favorite. And yeah, I'll see you next time. Okay? Okay. See ya. Oh god, where's my oh, there it is.